Welcome back to Fear Begins, your home for terrifying Halloween horror stories. Tonight's story is not for the faint of heart. If you've ever explored abandoned places, this will stay with you. Have you ever been inside a place where the silence felt alive? Comment below if you've ever felt eyes watching you when no one was around. Let us know where you're watching Fear Begins from, and share this with someone who loves Halloween and horror. Now turn the lights off, put your headphones on, and listen closely. Because what's buried beneath Ashridge was never meant to be uncovered. Whispers beneath Ashridge *. The first time I heard about Ashridge Asylum, I was 13. It was one of those places that existed more in rumor than in reality, an abandoned psychiatric facility on the outskirts of our town in Pennsylvania, swallowed by the forest, surrounded by chain-link fences and warnings long rusted over. My older cousin Tyler used to tell me stories about what happened inside. Electroshock therapy, lobotomies, ghosts of the forgotten. You know, classic small-town legend stuff. But when I turned 26 and moved back into town after my father passed, I started hearing about real people disappearing near the ruins. A jogger, a hiker, a photographer who wanted cool Halloween shots. The police always said the same thing. It was just wild animals, or they got lost. But their eyes said something else. Like they knew more than they could admit. That year on October 29th, my childhood friends and I planned a reunion. We were all in town again, and after a few drinks, Ashridge came up. Tyler, now a sarcastic 30-year-old with a mullet and a vape pen, raised an eyebrow and said, "I dare you all to spend Halloween night in Ashridge." All of us, one night, we laughed, drunkenly agreed. No one took it seriously, until we did. We arrived at the asylum just after sunset on October 31st. Tyler, me, Jake, my girlfriend Erin, and two others, Matt and Donnie. The asylum stood like a corpse no one bothered to bury. The roof had caved in sections, windows were jagged teeth in a crumbling mouth. A thick fog rolled out from the trees like breath from a sleeping beast. The front doors were sealed with chains, but Tyler found a side entrance through the old service tunnel. The air shifted the moment we entered, cold, dense, like stepping underwater. It didn't smell like mildew. It smelled like copper, like old blood. I read they kept the worst patients underground, Donnie whispered, flashlight trembling. No one ever talks about the lower levels. The tunnel sloped down gradually. Erin grabbed my hand. We had walkie-talkies, backup lights, everything you'd expect from a group that half expected to get scared. But deep down, I don't think any of us believed in ghosts. We should have. We reached a junction. The main corridor split into two wings. "Let's split up," Tyler suggested, because of course he did. Tyler and I went right. The others went left. We passed old patient rooms, each one darker than the last, filled with overturned beds, rusted restraints, and old paperwork scattered like confetti from a forgotten nightmare. Then we found it. The stairs, not the ones we came down. A separate, spiraling staircase made of iron and stone, descending into a darkness that seemed heavier. There was a plaque above the arch. Faded words carved into metal, Ward C, below. It was colder now. My breath clouded in front of me. And for a split second, I swear I saw a face, reflected in the metal banister, behind me, watching. But when I turned around, no one was there. Just shadows. Tyler went first. Ward C wasn't like the rest of the asylum. It was older. The walls were stone instead of tile, and the doors were solid, reinforced with iron bolts. We passed a row of cells, each one marked by a number and a strange symbol like a rune. The air down here was different. Not stale, not moldy. It felt charged, like standing near an open circuit. "Did you hear that?" Tyler whispered. I nodded. A voice. A whisper. Just out of reach. We pressed forward, and then we saw it. A mural, painted across the entire back wall of Ward C. It was ... wrong, hundreds of handprints, but not paint. Darker, sticky dot in the center, a crude depiction of a human figure, faceless, arms too long, standing over a pit. Below it, in black smears, they opened the gate, and it never closed. Tyler took a picture. That's when the whispering grew louder. Our walkie-talkie crackled. "Guys, are you there?" Aaron's voice. "We're in Ward C," I said. "You won't believe this place." Then silence. Just static. We tried again. Nothing. That's when the lights on our gear flickered. Once, twice, then died completely. Tyler lit a flare. The red light cast everything in fire. Then something moved. Fast. On all fours. In the hallway behind us. We bolted back to the staircase. Gone. Just gone. But when we turned to head up, the staircase wasn't there. I'm not kidding. The corridor had changed. The door we entered through was now solid wall. Tyler started to panic. This has to be a prank. Someone sealed it behind us, but there was no dust disturbed. No recent construction. It was like the asylum. Shifted. ***, we were trapped. Where? The stairwell had been. Now stood a corridor none of us remembered walking down. The mural was gone. Even the cells looked different, now numbered in Roman numerals. The runes replaced with jagged etchings that felt like they'd been burned into the stone. "I swear this wasn't here," Tyler whispered, voice shaking. "None of this makes sense," I muttered, heart pounding. "Buildings don't just ... change." We turned to retrace our steps only to find the corridor behind us had also shifted. This was no longer a building. This was a labyrinth. That's when we heard it. A dragging sound. Slow. Heavy. And breathing. Wet. Rattling breathing. Tyler raised his flashlight. At the end of the hall, just barely illuminated, stood something. Not a person. Too tall. Too thin. Its skin like torn bedsheets soaked in old oil. No eyes. Just a slit where a mouth should be. And fingers that dragged long nails across the floor as it moved. We ran. We turned corner after corner, the hallways bending in unnatural ways. Eventually, we burst into a massive open room like a chapel, but underground. The walls were covered in faces not painted, not sculpted. Pressed. Dozens. Maybe hundreds of human faces imprinted into the stone. Mouths frozen in eternal screams. Eyes stretched wide in agony. Danny once said Ward C was where they kept the patients they couldn't fix, the unresponsive, the violent. But these weren't patients. These were sacrifices. Above the altar at the room's center was a massive stone disc embedded into the ceiling, carved with the same rune we saw earlier. It pulsed. A heartbeat. Thump. 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 Tyler stepped closer. "It's warm," he whispered. "It's alive." Then we heard a scream through the walkie-talkie. Aaron. Tyler and I turned and ran toward the sound. The hallways bent again, this time shifting as we moved, walls rearranging, doors vanishing, but the scream had given us a direction, a purpose. We followed it into a new wing. The walls here weren't stone anymore. They were flesh, veined, pulsing. We stepped in something wet, blood, a trail, leading into a doorway marked, "Patient 113, high risk, do not open." Of course, it was open. We followed the trail inside and found Aaron barely conscious, slumped in the corner, pale as death. "Jake?" she whispered. I saw the gate." "What gate?" I asked, cradling her. She pointed. Etched into the wall was a crude map of the asylum, but in the center beneath everything was a black circle labeled, "The Pit." She passed out. That's when we heard the scraping again. It wasn't alone. This time, there were more. Dozens of them. We slammed the cell door and backed into the far corner. They gathered at the threshold. Too many to count, eyeless things, thin and rotten, crawling over each other like insects. They didn't enter. Instead, they whispered, "Not English, not Latin. But it spoke to my bones. It said my name. It said it remembered, and then it laughed. All of them, in unison. Tyler grabbed Aaron, and I found her rusted pipe near the bed. We weren't going down without a fight, but then the creatures parted. And a figure stepped forward. Not like them. Human. A man in an old orderly uniform. Flesh bloated, eyes sunken. He smiled. "I remember you," he said. I was waiting. He said his name was Carver. He had been an orderly at Ashridge in 1956, until they opened the gate. "It was never supposed to be real," he whispered, voice cracking like old paper. "They brought something from the other side. Something that wanted to stay." He gestured to the creatures behind him. Patients who didn't survive the transition, left half in, half out. "And you?" Tyler asked. Carver grinned. "I became the bridge." He stepped closer. "They feed on fear, on pain, on secrets. You buried. They're not ghosts. They're echoes made flesh." Tyler lifted the pipe. "Back away," Carver shrugged. "I just keep the doors open," and with that he vanished. The walls trembled, and the floor began to crack. A red glow poured from beneath. The pit was calling. We carried Aaron through the buckling halls. Behind us, the whispering rose to a crescendo. Chants, laughter, screams. Everything, every sound a human brain shouldn't be able to process, but the pit, it was drawing us in. Not just physically, psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. It knew our names, our sins. It whispered things into my head I had buried since childhood. Things I told no one. At the edge of the pit, the floor fell away, just an endless drop of flickering red light and smoke. And then that smoke, figures moved. People we'd known. Dead family, old friends. Faces twisted by regret and shadow. Aaron woke long enough to scream, "Don't look down." Tyler did. He collapsed, foaming at the mouth, muttering something about her eyes, her teeth, her hands. We had to climb. Not down, but out. Asterisk. I dragged Tyler up, blood pouring from his nose, his mind barely tethered to reality. Aaron clutched my arm, trembling but conscious now. The pit held behind us, a voice that didn't echo, but devoured sound, turning every syllable into fear. We had no map, no direction. But then I remembered. The old schematic Aaron found, the tunnel system. There was one marked beneath Ward C, an old service duct. If we could just, this way, I shouted. We ran through a hallway that was physically disintegrating, paint curling, tiles falling in sheets, the air charged with the scent of static and blood. We reached a broken maintenance hatch. Aaron squeezed first. Tyler followed. And I was last. Behind me, I could hear them crawling, laughing, humming. One voice louder than the rest. "Carver, you can leave," he said softly. "But it'll follow. You opened it." The crawl space was suffocating. Only the dim glow of Tyler's flashlight showed us the way. Water dripped from somewhere above. Pipes moaned like dying animals. The deeper we went, the more it felt like we weren't crawling through metal, but something alive. The walls were soft. Pulsing. Then Aaron gasped. A figure was ahead. Another person, but it wasn't moving. As we got closer, we saw it was a nurse, mummified, hands clutching her own throat. Her eyes had been torn out. She sat motionless, knees tucked beneath her, head tilted back. On the wall behind her, they made us watch. Suddenly, the duct began to tremble. Not from an earthquake, from footsteps. Above us, whatever lived in the building had found the hatch. It was coming. We crawled faster. Tyler started sobbing. "There's no end. There's no end. It's looping." But then light. Faint. Natural. We emerged into a boiler room. Rusted valves, a collapsed wall, and by some miracle a staircase leading up to the forest edge behind the facility. I looked back, for a moment. I swear I saw a child standing at the mouth of the duct, pale, smiling, her mouth sewn shut. She waved. Then vanished into the dark. We dragged ourselves outside, The air was cold, real, sharp. Alive. We ran through the woods, didn't look back. We didn't stop until we saw the road. We told no one, not the police, not our families. What could we say? We trespassed into a condemned asylum and nearly got eaten by a haunted dimension of forgotten souls. No one would believe us. Aaron stopped talking altogether. Tyler checked himself into therapy. I started writing down everything that happened, just to prove to myself it was real. But then the dreams started. The faces, the pit, the sound of scraping nails and whispering mouths. Last week, I got a package in the mail. No return address. Inside, a patient file. Ashridge Asylum, patient 113. My name was on it, and below that, in red ink, scribbled 3 words. You let me out. You're one of the brave few. This has been day 14 of our Halloween horror series on Fear Begins, Whispers Beneath Ashridge. If you've ever been inside an abandoned place, tell us what you saw. Or have you ever felt like something was watching you in a dark hallway? Comment below and let us know where you're watching from. We want to hear your own creepy experiences. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this story with a friend or someone you'd want to be trapped in an asylum with.